Starting in 2, starting in 1. Hello, everybody. It struck me recently that I learned a lot from watching my own teacher play for me during high school and college, and I really picked up on how they approached, piano practice, how they dealt with the mistakes that happened along the way, and how they fixed those mistakes. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today, where I'm going to be practicing for you, and you're hopefully going to be learning from my mistakes. So as I get my stuff set up here, it should only take a second, I want you to answer the question that I have in the live chat, which is basically, when you're starting a piece, what are 3 things that you should focus on or look for before you even start playing? And actually, while we get some answers here, hello, Sam. Hello, Rich. Glad to have you guys with us. While you guys are answering the question, I will get started on our first piece, which is Ein kleine Nachtmusik by Mozart. And then we just text. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right, everybody, just give me a second, and we should be good to go already. And so what we'll do in this practice session is I will be playing, for a few minutes, and then every once in a while, I'm going to go back to the live chat and answer your questions that you may have. But welcome, everybody. I think we got Sam and Rich here so far. And then I have some announcements further on into the lesson. So hopefully we're good, ready and good to go. So I'm looking at this for the first time, and I'm looking out for about 5 things. But if you could list 3 of them in the live chat, that would be great, and we'll go over them. Sorry, I can't speak today. In just a minute. So we're going over, and we're going to start with the first line here. And one thing I noticed right away is we have a lot of parallel notes, meaning that we're hitting the same note about an octave apart between each hand, which makes it a little bit easier, but I'm really going to have to look out for some finger numbers to make sure my hands are in the right position. So that's a good hint on, what you may want to look out for when you start playing. So let me just go through this first line or so, and then we'll talk about it. Let me try one more time. All right, and right away, I am noticing that we start out with forte. We're starting out nice and loud, and there's a lot of articulations in this piece. And by articulations, I mean those little symbols that tell you exactly how to play the note. So right away, we have an accent, and then short note with that staccato, accent, and by adding in these little things, it really gives the music a lot more character. So let's check in, see how everybody's doing in the chat here, and see if you guys have answered my question. Let's see if I can bring the chat. Yeah, here we go. Not bad, not bad. All right, let's see what we got here. So Richard says, time signature. So the question is, again, what are like 3 things you're going to look out for even before you start playing? There's really like 5 or 6, actually. But the answer we have so far is time signature, scale, and intervals and shapes. So what Richard is talking about here is this. Hold on a second. Sorry, this is the one. I switched them. So what they're saying is you're looking at the time signature, which is how many beats in each measure. And so we have 4 to 4. 4 beats in each measure, and the quarter note gets 1 beat. What I like to do, though, there's another step beyond this, is I like to count out ahead of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, play. And then I'll make sure that I'm starting with a nice consistent tempo, and that's maybe a little bit on the slower side, but that's okay because we're learning this for the first time, and I've never really even played this piece before. So slower the better. And then they also said scale. Now specifically, I think they mean the key signature. So we got 1 sharp, F sharp, which means F is going to be sharped throughout the whole piece. Now what I always recommend is that students play the scale of whatever key they're in so that they understand visually on the keyboard where these notes will hit. Let's see what else people had to say. Intervals and shapes. So remember in the beginning where I said they're in parallel, and you're hitting the same note an octave apart, and that kind of ties in with intervals. We'll talk about intervals here in a little bit. Let me take a drink real quick. Of water, of course. It's the middle of the day. See what you guys have to say. Hello, everybody. Wish everybody has a nice day. You too, Sam. Hopefully you've been well. What key it's in? Yep, finger position. So we'll talk about finger positions here in a second. Sam says, number one, listen to a few recordings of the piece. Okay, this is interesting. This is a little different. We're going to do that towards the end of the lesson. I'm going to show you what that's about. So I'm glad Sam said that, because that's what we're going to be doing. And understand how it goes. Okay, so you do that first. That's very interesting. I do it a little bit later in my practice. I like to kind of get a feel for it myself, and then kind of double check with some recordings to make sure I'm on track. But it does help you understand the character and structure of the piece, for sure. The tempo as well. I also notice a lot of tempo mistakes and rhythm mistakes when I listen to some recordings. Respective positions, exactly. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then I check key signature and practice the scale chords and chords of that key signature. So we'll talk about the chords in a second. We'll just keep moving along here. Sylvia, excellent to have you back here. Key signature, correct. Time signature, tempo, and accidentals, great. Accidentals, if you don't know, are like sharps or flats that are not part of the key signature. I don't see any in the first. There's no way this has no accidentals, right? Well, guess what? In the first few. Oh, I found one. As I was about to scroll away. So accidentals are like sharps or flats, like right here, that are not part of the key signature. You're probably going to want to map those out ahead of time, so that you know that they are coming up, and you know like kind of what notes to watch out for. These are all great answers. I love this. This is why I love doing the live streams. Sam always gives like the most like excellent and complete answers. Lastly, I scan the piece for any tricky passages and drill those first so they get in shape and they are practiced the most. Excellent work. You have been listening to me for a long time. Key signature, by the way, hello. Yeah, okay. Everybody's saying hi. Okay, so we're going to get back to playing, and I'm going to talk about some of the comments that came up here and how they relate to our piano playing. So let me get back over here, and let's see what some people said that I want to touch on some more. So Sam had mentioned playing some chords around the key. Now, I want to explain that a little bit, right? Now, in this piece, in the beginning, we don't really have any chords, but we do in the second line. And what Sam was saying is that when you're playing like the scale of the key that you're in, what I would do is I would also play and identify the primary chords. So let's say when you start on the first note of the scale, build a chord, that's what we call the first chord, or the tonic chord, and that's a primary chord. The next type of chord you want to play is 4 notes up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Build a major chord on that. That's your 4 chord, also called the subdominant chord. It's another primary chord, and I'll explain what that is in a second. And then the next one is the 5th chord. And remember, when you're charting out these chords, you have to pay attention to the key signature as well. So we have a sharp in there. So we have G major, C major, and D major. Now, they're called primary chords because that's primarily what you're going to find in the piece. Are those the only chords you're going to find? No. You wish. You wish those were the only chords. But like most of the chords, especially in these easier types of pieces, they will be the G, C, or D in some fashion. They may be in some kind of what we call inversion, where the notes appear in a different order, but it's the same chord. But in this case right here, where we come in with our first chords, we just have a straight G major chord. And this actually seems like a suspended chord. What happens next? Oh, okay, and then back to this. Yeah, sometimes they might throw in some kind of suspension here. And then Sam was mentioning, or maybe it was Richard, talking about intervals. So the intervals are the distance between two different notes. And I specifically want to look at this measure right here with our left hand. See how these notes are all stacked like a snowman? Like the bottom two of a snowman? These are thirds. And by knowing what a third is right away, it's really just one note, skip a note, play the next note. I can play those notes so much easier. It's almost like I don't even have to read them. It like kind of automatically falls into place by knowing what intervals are. And actually going back up here with the first chord we have right here, you know, these are just stacked thirds. And then this next chord here, there's a fourth and a second there. So you can use the intervals to be able to read music much better. So we got some great answers here. Kathy's coming in. Key, Kathy looks for the key signature, the time signature, and chords. That's great. So we just talked about the chords and how to figure those out. Key signature, time signature. Looking for starting hand position is something that I like to do. I like to count out a measure or two before I begin playing. And then looking out for things like accidentals, which is something that Sam had brought up, I believe. And like I said, we don't really have any right away. But when you get down here, you kind of want to chart these out ahead of time, being like, okay, we got G sharp down here. And so that kind of sets you up more for success rather than just going into everything cold. Excellent answers, guys. What I'm going to do is I want to play the first two lines of this piece or so. For 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to come up with some new ideas. I actually have some more questions for you guys, and we'll go from there. Okay, here we go. So again, looking out for time signature, 4/4, we got 1 sharp in our key signature, and I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4. Now, I notice a problem already, and that's my left hand isn't quite cooperating with me. So let's kind of troubleshoot and see what the issue is with the left hand. And I've been playing piano for quite a while now, most of my life. And I can tell you right now, it's the finger numbers. They're a little confusing to me. So let me just go over with the left hand. They want us to start with 3, 5, 3, 5. And I assume this is 3, 5, 3, 2, 1. So that's totally fine. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, see, I was hitting 4 on this D sharp, this note right here on the second line. But it's really 3. And probably 2 and then 5. So I was doing, and then I was missing this note with the pinky. So it's really important you get the correct finger numbers. I'm going to go over this a little bit again one more time just with the left hand. Oh, much better. Now let's see if we can do it hands together. Oh. Which brings me to another point. When you're trying to fix something, you want to slow it back down. I noticed that when I first started here, I was trying to play it at the tempo before, but then I was like, oh man, I got to really focus on the correct finger numbers. So always be willing to dial back the tempo. It will work in your favor, big time. All right, we'll answer some new questions here in just a second. Let me continue here and keep working on this. Oh, wait, let me count out a measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Nailed it. Pretty good. So I encountered some problems here on this third line here, the one in the middle here that you're seeing. And the really tricky thing is this right hand, because we have these ties here, right? Ba, 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 da, 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 da. Now see, we have this tied over F sharp here, right in the middle of this line right here. This one right here in the right hand. See how it's tied over? So if you hit this with 3, 2, 2, the fingers, you'll notice that the next finger they want you to hit with is 3. And you can actually use the ties sometimes to your advantage to hit the correct fingering, because if you hit this F sharp with 3 and you realize you have to hit this with 3, you can actually change fingers while you have tied over notes. So something like this. And then whatever comes next, I'd have to take a look at it. So that's just some of the things that I'm looking for. Ties always get me. And like I said, you can use the ties, like you hit it on 4 and then change to 1. You can use the ties to your advantage to hit the correct fingering. You shouldn't have to do that a lot, but I'm going to be honest with you, there's actually quite a few times where it's necessary. Okay, let's continue working out line 3 here, and then I'll chat with you guys some. All right. And then on that last measure, I noticed that I kept playing this. And I played another one, but there's actually a quarter rest. You'd be really surprised how often like rests will trip people up, because the tendency is to do this actually. Oops, I played 2 of them, sorry. Now what was the mistake? I didn't play any wrong notes, but I didn't lift up off of this note in time, and so it kind of bled over the harmony a little bit. In some cases, it's going to be nearly impossible to tell, but you want to make sure that you're having those spaces in there where those rests are, because that's what the composer intended. And there's a lot of, like, hopefully later on we'll see something like this, where musically and phrasing-wise, the rest really makes the music what it is, and I'll try to explain that more later. Okay, guys, let me see what you have in terms of comments or questions, if any. I have a question for you, though. Hold on. Let me see what the second question I wanted to ask you guys was. Okay. The next question is, you guys better get this one right. Are you ready? I'm going to put it in the chat. Just give me a second. So here's the next question 2. What time period musically did Mozart come from? And I want to talk about that time period a little bit, because it kind of gives us a little more information on how we're going to be playing the piece. So let me replace pinned message. So this is question 2. Answer this over the next few minutes. Don't look it up. I mean, once one person gets it right, it's really not going to be much to it. But the second question is, what musical time period is Mozart from? And that'll kind of help springboard us into the next one. Okay. Apologize if I get your name wrong. Pequino says classical period is Mozart, and so did Sam, says classical. If we consider Beethoven late classical, then Mozart's early classical, very, very good. Who came before Mozart and Beethoven is the next question I have for you. In terms of like major composers who are not necessarily part of the classical period. They're part of a period right before, a big composer that actually Mozart and Beethoven kind of made their music after. But anyway, I want to talk about classical for a second while you guys think about that. So classical music is a lot more rigid in terms of like the rules behind the music. And what that really means is that like the tempos and the rhythms are going to be a lot more exact. It's not really something you would encounter with impressionist music, where things kind of sound like, where it's a little bit more like floaty, a little bit more free form. Sorry, I tried to play that from memory. That was a Ravel. I don't even remember what that's called anymore. I need to go back to my Ravel. But anyway, what you need to know about classical is it's a bit more rigid with its rules. You're not going to see a lot of crazy chords. So no, let's see, not even any ninth chords. See how ninth has like kind of a dreamier type of quality for it. With it, you're not going to encounter those at all. You're not even going to encounter, well, you'll encounter sevenths, but very rarely. It's a lot of major chords, and maybe sometimes like a suspension, but then it goes right back. And there's a lot of strict rules about how the harmonies, which are the chords, move between each other. And as music generally gets more and more towards the modern period, the more free it is with the rules. And that's why like the more recent stuff you hear is kind of like more experimental sounding than what we're witnessing here. Okay, Handel is a good answer. Bach, Handel, Scarlatti, exactly. The main one I was going for is Bach. So if you ever listen to Bach, you know, Bach is even more like, I'd say rule-based. It's probably a better way of putting it. But as you can see, it's like very, I wouldn't even say repetitive, but very structured is a good way to put it. Okay, let's continue here. Let me give you guys my third question, since that question you blew past. Okay, the next question I have for you, and then we'll get playing again, is this. Question 3. Have you ever learned a piece by Mozart? And if that is the case, which piece have you learned? I want to know that. So we're going to replace that pinned message. Spend a few minutes on that one. I mean, I'm sure you guys all have different answers. And let me take a drink here. Okay. And let me continue on with the lesson. Oh, this is one thing I want to bring up. I don't know if we'll get there today. This is something that's going to come up in future lessons, but now they let you have a super chat goal. And our super chat goal is, we'll do it like the same way each time for a while. I don't know if we'll make it today, since this is, you know, our first time back. But the goal is I will extend the live stream to 90 minutes. So that's 30 extra minutes than what we're doing today. And I'll spend extra time answering questions and critiquing Mozart performances from other people. So we'll take a look on YouTube, kind of pull some up, and we'll see if we can pull some really valuable ideas out of that. But to get there, we have to get 5 Teal Super Chats, which is $5 or more. We'll see if we can do it today. But like I said, we'll do this each time. And, you know, they give us the goals now, so we might as well use them. Okay, let's continue here. And let me keep practicing. We'll knock out another line. Okay, now, coming in from this. Ah, here we go, okay. Rest. All right, let me try again. And just as I suspected, in this measure right here, when I played it the first time, let's see if you can pick out the mistake. So coming into that measure from before. And you may have heard that this didn't quite sound right, and that's because there is a sharp. Don't forget about the key signature. And if something doesn't sound right, I'm telling you right now, the first place you want to look for is, did I hit some notes wrong in the key signature? So let's continue on this line, and then we're going to try to play the whole first page nice and slow. Let me try again. Rest. All right, I'm gonna try this one more time. I want to see if I can add in the piano in the middle here. Remember, the P stands for piano or soft, so you want to hear a difference coming into it. There we go. And that is called dynamic contrast. If you don't have that dynamic contrast in there, it's really just going to sound really flat all the time. Now, one question I do want to answer for you guys, because I get this question a lot, is when you're first learning a piece of music, do you have to worry about all these little details? Like, what if you're just really trying to get the notes underneath your hands? And say, like, when you start thinking about, you know, the articulations, playing the notes, you know, short or long or accented, and with the dynamics, it's just too much for you to handle. So this is the priority list of how I would think about things you should focus on when playing. First is the notes, right? If you really can't handle anything else, just try to get the right notes. And don't even, you know, think about the tempo so much. And maybe your tempo will be a little bit off. But that's okay, because you can fix that later. Once you get the notes down, the tempo will be a little bit easier to get under control. Once you get the notes and then the and the rhythm, I kind of use them interchangeably a little bit. Tempo is like basically how fast you're counting. But once you get the notes down and then the rhythms, then I would focus on dynamics. And then once you can get that down, which is how loud and soft you play, then you're going to add in things like the staccatos, the legatos, the accents, these things that we all call under an umbrella term, articulations. So I'm going to try this whole first line, whole first page. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it all, but I'll do my best. It's pretty small, but like I said, we'll do it. Actually, I'll do the first three lines and then we'll have to scroll down. All right, here we go. And then I'll answer your questions here in a second. So here we go. Again, I'm going to start out by counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Oh, I messed it up. Rest. Okay, now I want to go over a few mistakes that I made, because sometimes when you perform something, certain mistakes will work themselves in. And I can tell you right now, one thing that always happens to me is that the fingering kind of falls apart sometimes. And I kind of caught myself at the end of this first line, and I was like, wait a second, I need to pay attention to the correct finger. So just a little tip for you, that like when you go to perform something, usually the stuff you just recently worked out is going to work its way back in, and it'll just require slow and consistent practice working on those problem areas. So let's see what we got here. We'll get back to playing here in a second. I just want to check in with you guys, see how you guys did with my the question I asked you. Excuse me. K545. I love that one. Rondo alla Turca. Yeah. Excellent. Sorry, I'm not a very good singer, but that is, I believe, Rondo alla Turca. K5 at 45, maybe we'll listen to that. We got Sujal says Sonata in C major, K514, Sonata in A major, K331. Avoir Drai J Mamin, obviously can't pronounce that. 545. Historical performances are a gold mine for analysis. I agree. The bar is a bona fide soft pedal usage, or this bar is. It could give some great contrast. Very true. Now, my piano teacher always told me this. Don't use the soft pedal unless you have... He considered the soft pedal as cheating, and that you should only use the soft pedal if it's like pianissimo or whatever it is, the 3 Ps. You'll almost never see that, but that was his... The one thing you'll find is like with specific performance types of things, that piano teachers will often have different kind of perspectives on it. So it's kind of interesting. I like that. Let's see, dude, whatever you play, Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, Handel, and all the greats, it's never easy fingering. That's true. Sorry, I couldn't get you down here. I'm gonna have to fix... Maybe I can fix this right now. Give me a chance here, guys. Let's see if I can... No, it only goes that way. Perfect. I'll have to fix this for next time or something. I don't know. All right, anyway, we'll just continue here. I don't want to spend time on that. All right, let's continue. I'm going to start practicing maybe another, I don't know, a couple of lines, and we'll do the same thing. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's see what Sam said. You could play that bar with a soft pedal and mezzo forte. It will sound like a normal piano, but much more mellow. That's true. The one thing about the soft pedal is it does just kind of mellow out the sound in general. So that's a very good point to make. Let me continue here with what we have going on, and I'll answer your questions here in a second. I do have another question for you guys, but just let me see what we got. No, we're good. I'll leave you with that. So if you worked on Mozart, just let me know in the comments. That's all. Okay, we're back to our thing. And I think what we'll do is, because we don't have all the time in the world, is we'll take a look at maybe another 2 lines, and then we'll see where we are from there. I have another piece I want to play to kind of, because it has different examples in it, and then we'll go from there. But let's continue. Okay, a point just came to mind, even before I played any notes. One thing, and this happens to me because I have to move from over here to the piano over and over and over again. And the number one thing you want to do, even when you're just practicing, is each time you get up, is you have to readjust the bench. Because and I'm telling you right now, the number one mistake people make with the bench, they get it parallel, which is fine, but they are usually too close. This is from my own experience. They're almost always too close to the piano. And then that's really going to inhibit your ability to basically move your arms. So I wanted to tell you guys about that because it's really important. Okay, here we go. So we're looking right here. So should I try this at full speed? Well, not full speed, but the same speed I did the beginning? No, we got to do it nice and slow. So I'm going to count on a measure, and then we're going to come in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and rest. Oh, we knew we messed up somewhere. Okay, I ran into an issue, or not an issue, there's something I want to talk about in this line in particular. See the beginning here? Now, like I said, if you find it too much to grab all of these little details in your first playthrough, don't worry about it. But I like to grab as much as I can because I've been playing for a while. And by doing that, you're able to learn the pieces much faster. So right away, I'm trying to add in this articulation we have here in the right hand, where we have legato to staccato. See how you have that like kind of arcing line in the right hand? Oh wait, you know what I just figured out, guys? You're not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this. can actually circle what I'm talking about. So right here, boom. You see how there's that arcing line there? Well, that is a slur line. So you're going to actually connect those notes. So like when you play slurs or legatos, they're called, when you're playing from one note to the next note, you're only lifting up off the first notes when you play the second note. So it like slurs them together. But you may notice that's not exactly what we have. It's actually slurred to a staccato. And how you do that is you slur between the first and second one, and then you have that kind of crispiness between the notes. See, hear that? And then whatever happens next out of there. And then I tried to add in that crescendo there at the end of that line. Okay, because we're short on time, or not short on time, we only have an hour or so, what I'm going to do is I am going to play everything that we played up to then, and I'll kind of tell you what mistakes kind of pop up and how I deal with them. So you ready? And then I'll answer your questions. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and doing pretty good so far. Let's continue. Rest. Ooh. Even that sounds cool, but it's not right. Rest. Oh, I hit the wrong finger. No. So playing through that, I made a mistake right here and right here. So what I would do is I would go through. Oh, let me show you what I was Xing there. That measure and then that measure. So what I would do is I would just isolate those measures. Just play it a few times. And then what I like to do is play the measure going into that. I would play this next one. Actually, oh yeah, and then I would play that a few times until I got it. Okay, let's see what you guys have to say. Let's see if I have any questions for you guys. All right. Especially Bach, you seem to run out of fingers playing his pieces. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always do. That is true. You could play that bar with a soft pedal. Okay, so that's what he was saying before. All right, guys. So maybe we will switch pieces here. So as a review, I have a question for you guys. Are you ready? Here's question 3. Is this question 3 or 4? I think it's 4. Is it? I don't know. It's 4. Question 4. What is something you learned so far in today's live stream? Or what was like either something you learned so far or something that you felt was like kind of enlightening, or maybe just a good review. Maybe it's something you haven't thought about in a while. So it's something that you've learned so far that will help me understand where you guys are at. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, I want to spend a couple of minutes. We'll get back to playing here in a second. Talking about what's coming out in the next few weeks. So next week, my hope is that I'm going to have a new recorded video for you guys. It's going to be slightly different style of video and about a different, actually, it's not a different topic. It's very similar to what we're doing today. I'll give you that hint. And then after that, so lesson next week, regular lesson next week. And then 2 weeks from today, on Friday, we're having another live stream. So if you go over to the YouTube channel, I think youtube.com/piano lessons on the web, you'll see that I have scheduled out like the next 4 live streams or so. And that's what I am going to do, in the future. Begin slowly as a reminder. Exactly. My time must be different than yours. Remembering to use intervals and soft pedal uses cheat. That's completely new, Sam says. That's great. Just watching you play and trying to keep up with you, says Brenda. Unfortunately, you guys can't see her. I need to fix that for next video. But anyway, letting you guys know that like more regular content is on the way. I don't know if I'll be able to get something out every single week, but I'm really trying to hope for this thing where we like do a live stream and then you guys get a lesson and then we do a live stream and you get a lesson. So almost every week that there's something you can actually look forward to on the channel, rather than the last few months have been a little sparse, but I've been trying to keep up with you guys, trying to explain what's going on and what I'm up to. So anyway, let's keep letting me know what you learned in this lesson. We already have some great responses. And one thing we'll talk about the Discord at the end and maybe what we'll do with that. Okay, let me get the next piece up for you guys. Now, one thing I want to answer before I move on to the next piece is how would I continue working on this piece? So remember, I did it line by line, basically. I played it, kind of identified some mistakes, played it again, tried to fix those mistakes, and then anything that's like was way off, I put an X. I usually do a star when I practice, and I go over those measures again and again, and then kind of like fit them into context by playing not only that measure, but the measure before it, that measure, and then, kind of continuing from there. Now, if I continued working on this piece, I mean, there's still quite a bit to go. So probably what I would do is I would finish out this page here, and then I would go back to the first page, play it from the beginning, identify any mistakes, and do the same process again. And then I would go on to the next page, learn that, and then start it from the beginning, see where any mistakes may pop up, because some mistakes only pop up when you are trying to play the entire piece. When you're doing measure by measure or line by line, there's certain mistakes that just don't pop up until you do the whole thing. So just give me a second, guys. I want to bring up the next piece because there was some interesting stuff that even I think will give me a little bit of trouble the first time. So let's see what we got here. I didn't want to pick anything too easy. I don't think that was the one. That one's good too. Just give me a second, guys. Was it this one? Here it is. We got it. And let me do this because this will make it easier. Or not. We'll just do this. Sometimes when things don't cooperate, I make them cooperate. Okay, here we go. So I'm playing this piece for the very first time. In fact, that is true. I've never seen this piece in my life. I probably have heard it before, though. Now, there are a lot of things that look easy, and then there are a lot of things that I think are going to give me a little bit of trouble, and I'll teach you how to kind of tackle those things. So when I'm learning this for the first time, I'm on the lookout for like time signature. So we're in 3/4, and you notice in the first measure we have 16th notes right here. So 8th, 16th. And so whenever I have 16th notes, I like to do what's called subdivision, where instead of counting out like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, play, and then start playing, I would do 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, and then play. I would do 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a. Maybe I have the right notes. And And that kind of just counting out those 4 notes, da, 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 da. It'll make sure that you're playing everything in time. Now, I didn't have the right notes there. That's what we'll talk about next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through the first line. Again, the priority is getting the right notes, and then after that, getting the right rhythms, and then adding in like some of the finer details here. And we'll go from there. So here we go. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and I missed a few notes. Let me just try it again. Sorry, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and oh wait, 1 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and oh, this is why we count. So what I was doing is this, but that's not correct. It's 1 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and so I wasn't holding those last 2 notes for long enough. Let me try again. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and okay, starting to get it underneath my fingers. Once again, it looks like the notes are in parallel, but they're really not, which makes it a bit more tricky. They're actually a fifth apart. They are parallel in that you're playing the same. Actually, you're not. So I guess the point is they look like they're in parallel. Again, parallel is like playing the same notes between each hand, but they're not, which is, I think, one of the trickiest things about this piece. The other thing is you may notice the TRs everywhere. Now, this is what's going to make it really tricky, I think. But what I like to do is I like to get the rhythm down first, and I think I kind of have it. So a trill, if you don't know, is when you alternate between, so you have the principal note, which is the note right underneath the TR, so that's an F. You want to start from the note, the next scale note above that F, and you want to alternate, and we're using the pedal here. Wait, 1 E and, or 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 1 E and 2, 3 and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and now if you notice my trills, that's what they're called, are a little bit sloppy, but that's okay. It's going to take some time to really work those in, really getting those sounding like they're in time. Now, one thing I want to answer is, when you have a trill, how long are you trilling for? Well, you're trilling for as long as the principal note, which means the note underneath the trill, and in this case, for 1 beat. So when I count 3 E and I'm playing a trill the whole time. 3 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and beautiful, as you can tell. All right, let's see what you guys have to say, and then we'll continue working on this one. Okay. See what if anybody has. Let's see. Just watching you, trying to keep up. Oh, Sylvia says you can't see it. We'll make an effort to spend more time practicing different pieces. Yes, that will definitely help. So if you are playing the same types of pieces all the time, you're kind of limiting yourself. Now, when you're first starting to learn, you always want to be playing pieces in the key of C, things with easier rhythms. But before you know it, once you get to the end of your first real piano book, you want to start looking for pieces that are in different key signatures, like the key of G or the key of D or the key of A. You know, if you're always playing things in the key of C, like I said, you're limiting yourself. But that's a great comment there. As a beginner, a trill is new to me, from Richard. Yeah, I actually have a lesson on trills. Let me see. Give me a second, guys. Let me get you a lesson on trills. Hopefully I can find it real easy. Here it is. So this is all about mastering trills. I recommend you watch this after our lesson today. I will also be giving you some other lessons to watch, but that's great. That that 2/4 change is unfiltered silliness. Yeah, what are you talking about at the end of the line there? Yeah, I agree. Looking at this, and this is one thing that was kind of tripping me up about it, is that if you look at it, whoever like edited this or like wrote this into Finale or whatever, they kind of left a lot out. There's no finger numbers, there's no dynamics. I do see a clef change right there and maybe a grace note, which maybe we'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, they kind of dropped the ball on the editing process on that one. Sometimes when you look for free pieces online, you get what you pay for. But I'm not gonna spend $5 on every single piece. It's especially with the stock market the way it is. We won't talk about that though. Okay, thanks, says Richard. You're very welcome. All right, let's continue here, and then we'll kind of wrap up the lesson here in the next 10 minutes from there. Actually, I want to do this. Okay, I'll play a little bit more, but I do want to do this really quick. Give me a second, everybody. Okay. Give me 3 more seconds. Oh, Final Fantasy. I wanted to do a lesson on Final Fantasy music, but I don't know. That might be a while away. I shouldn't. Enough of me rambling. There it is. Let's see if we can get a... Sorry it's off center. That's just the way it's going to have to be, right? All right, anyway. I want to tell you about my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, where I have over 20 courses designed to help you learn a lot more about playing piano and music theory and rhythm and pretty much anything else, ear training, anything else you need to be a well-rounded musician. And it's great for beginners who need a solid foundation, or if you're looking to expand your horizons a little bit, there are classes here for you. And the big question I always get is like, why the courses? Why not just learn on YouTube? Well, these courses, unlike YouTube, not only include instructional videos that are exclusive to the courses, but they also include sheet music. Let me read it from here. Instructional videos, notes, worksheets, and sheet music. So you're not only just like learning something and moving on, kind of like what you would do on YouTube. You're going to learn something, you're going to practice it, and you're going to master it, which is really what you need in music. You need to understand this stuff like the back of your hand. So when we're done today, if you want to check it out, pianolessonsontheweb.com. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Code YouTube for an additional 15% off, and we have a spring sale that goes until April 20th. And it's a great way not only to invest in your own music education, but invest in the channel as well, because it's through the support of, you know, people like you that I'm still here doing this. So I just want to tell you guys about that. And let's kind of finish up the lesson here, and we'll go from there. So just give me a second here. Let me know any last minute comments or questions that will wrap up in the last 10 minutes or so, and we'll go from there. But let me bring up something. Where was this piece? Sorry guys, I lost track of... Oh, here it is. We got it. Okay. In the last couple seconds or minutes, I want to talk about these grace notes. So you see how, like this measure right here, that there are these little notes, like they sneak them in right before the other notes? Well, this is how you deal with those. So I would think as a grace note, like you almost slipped on the wrong note and you like correct yourself real quick, right? So something like that. Like you meant to hit the E, but you slipped. You're like, oh, I hit the F, but there's the E. That's what I like to think about them for beginners, the way I like to think. Now, the real important thing is, though, is that you have the grace note, which is that little note, but then you have the principal note, which is the larger note, okay? The really important thing is that that principal note, the larger note, has to hit in time. So normally the rhythm of this measure would be 1E and 2E and like that. But with the grace note, you still want these in the same places, 1E and 2E and but you're adding these grace notes in. So it's going to go 1E and 2E and Again, it's like snuck in right before the note, but keep in mind the grace note itself doesn't take up any note value. So I'll go. Let me try again with the right notes. Let me try again with the right notes. Now, that was pretty easy to explain, actually. I thought it'd be harder. Now, when you get to this measure, what do you notice about this measure right here? There's something crazy about this measure, that if you mess this up, the whole piece is going to fall apart and it's going to be the worst, okay? And hopefully you said, oh, they snuck in a bass clef in the middle of that of the treble clef, basically, of the right hand. So these first few notes are treble clef, but then you have to make sure that you go to bass clef, or it will sound disastrous like this. And you can tell right away, you're like, whoa, I messed up. And usually if you mess up, it's either the key signature or they changed up the clefs on you. And I'm telling you, this is something that's going to mess everybody up. So always be on the lookout for clef changes as well, which is something I should have said in the beginning of the lesson, but we didn't have it in that first piece. Okay, let's read over any comments or questions we have here at the end. Let's see what we got here. Brenda says, me too, please, on trills. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Let me see. Mozart. Oh, okay. So a trill is new for you as well, Brenda. I think I understand. I understand that correctly. Okay, so just a reminder, you know, of course, it's over on pianolessonsontheweb.com, and we are going to meet again here in 2 weeks, and we're going to meet every 2 weeks into the foreseeable future. I want to try to be more consistent with this. I'm going to schedule them out ahead of time, kind of plan ahead so that it's going to be much easier to hit that consistency. Again, my plan is to get a new lesson, like recorded lesson, out to you guys next weekend, probably Saturday or Sunday. It's one that I've been working on for a while. I hope you enjoy it. It's at least something like I'm at least trying different things, and I hope you guys get a lot of it. If you guys got a lot out of this lesson here, in the hour we spent, you're gonna get a lot out of that like 20-minute lesson I put out next week. So oh yeah, I want to tell you about one more thing. And that is we have a Discord. Now, I'm right now figuring out what we're going to do with the Discord. Since I'm not like a huge like Discord person, but I do think that there is some use for it there. We used to do something called Piano Practice Club, where I used to ask you guys to submit recordings there. So maybe when we do something like this in the future, I'll post there, get you guys to submit some recordings, and then I can review your recording similar to what we did today, what we did. So we'll like kind of combine ideas. That's just generally what I'm thinking. Thank you so much, Sam. He has the Discord link right there. Good luck with this launch. Well, thank you so much, James. I appreciate that a lot. And great seeing everybody. Great seeing you, James. Great seeing Sam, Brenda. Also, a special thanks to Sam, our moderator. I know that we don't really have a lot of trolls these days and people trying to make a ruckus, but I do appreciate everything you do. You always provide a lot of good context and a lot of good answers to the questions. So thank you for that. Brenda, thank you for coming. We got Richard that was here back again. And again, remember, guys, we're going to meet again in 2 weeks. We got Sylvia. We'll make an effort to spend more time on different pieces. That's great. I think I read that before. Mona, thank you for coming. I believe I've seen you before. And yeah, I think Sujal, thank you for coming. Pequino, thank you for coming. And everybody, I'm just trying not to miss everybody. If I missed your name, I still appreciate you very much. But I think we got him. All right, guys. Thank you for all the support and everything. We are at 1 hour. We didn't make our super chat goal, but that's okay. It's kind of a new thing, and we'll kind of figure out how to integrate that a little bit better in the future. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something. I hope it was at least a good review for some of you. And if you're a new beginner, maybe you learned a few new things. But hit the like. Yes, please hit the like button. It actually, it's still unclear whether it helps with the algorithm, but what it does do is it helps other people know that this is a quality live stream that they can learn from as well. And the last thing I want to leave you guys off with is if you check out I can't show you directly, but if you check out the description, okay, there's a lot of links in the description. And in a lot of videos, there's links in the description. And if you watch the playlists that I give you there, you can actually go on like a whole watching spree and learn a ton of stuff about. So I have a beginner's piano playlist if you're just getting started out. I have one for reading music. We got one for rhythms, music theory. Again, a lot of that like beginner stuff that you're really going to need to know to start playing piano. And then, of course, you could go from there. Yeah, subscribe for more delicious learning materials from me. Anyway, guys, it was great to see you guys again. I'm really excited to be back here a little bit more consistently than I was. Been working on a lot of things behind the scenes, and so that I can make the best lessons and videos possible for you guys. Anyway, maybe I'll talk about what's going on in my life a little bit next time. There's not really much. I've been working on YouTube, working on my health, and trying not to go crazy from all the world craziness right now, but we're not going to talk about that. This is going to be a safe space from the craziness, okay? We might have craziness over here on the piano, but no political craziness, okay? And if I mess up and I start talking about it, let me know. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. It's been your piano teacher, Tim, here. Have a great week and happy practicing. Bye-bye.